Picture this. You're astride your motorcycle, the engine humming beneath you as you roll out from the small town of Jemez Pueblo. The air is crisp with a hint of pine, and the late morning sun casts golden hues across the rugged landscape of northern New Mexico. Your destination? The Gilman Tunnels, an iconic pair of rock-hewn passages carved into the Jemez Mountains. The ride along NM-485 promises a mix of serene beauty, tight twists, and a dash of adventure. You start by turning off NM4 onto NM-485, just north of the Walatoa Visitor Center. The road is paved and narrow, immediately setting the tone for an intimate ride with the landscape. As you lean into the first gentle curves, the scenery unfolds. Towering mesas painted in shades of red and ochre rise on either side, their jagged edges softened by the occasional cottonwood tree clinging to the banks of the Rio Guadalupe below. The river glints in the sunlight, a ribbon of silver threading through the canyon, teasing you with glimpses as you ride. The pavement is smooth but demands focus. This isn't a wide-open highway. The road hugs the contours of Guadalupe Canyon, and soon you're climbing steadily, the engine growling as you ascend. The twists tighten, and you feel the thrill of leaning into each turn, the bike responding eagerly to your every move. Around one bend, a sheer cliff looms on your left. Its Precambrian granite face a testament to millions of years of geologic drama. On your right, the canyon drops away to the rushing waters of the Rio Guadalupe, framed by dramatic rock outcrops. It's a sensory overload, wind in your face, the scent of sagebrush, and the rumble of your bike echoing off the canyon walls. About 3.9 miles, and M485 officially ends, transitioning into Forest Road 376. The pavement holds, but the road narrows further, signaling you're entering wilder territory. You slow slightly, eyes scanning ahead, and then you see it. The first of the Gilman Tunnels carved in the 1920s for a narrow-gauge logging railroad. These tunnels are tall and narrow, blasted through solid granite with rugged, almost otherworldly charm. The approach is exhilarating. The tunnel mouth looms like a portal, framed by steep canyon walls. You ease off the throttle, the sound of your engine amplifying as you enter. The cool, shadowed interior swallows you for a moment. Only about 50 feet long, but feeling like a rite of passage, before you burst out the other side into blinding daylight. A quick twist of the wrist, and you're rolling toward the second tunnel, just a stone's throw ahead. This one's even more dramatic, with the river roaring below and the canyon pinching in tight. You navigate through, emerging to a small pull-off where you can park and soak it all in. Dismounting, you walk to the edge, peering down at the Guadalupe Box Canyon, a narrow, steep-walled marvel where the river churns over rocks. The tunnels, once alive with the clatter of lumber trains, now stand silent, their reddish walls etched with history. From here, the pavement ends, and the road turns to dirt. If you're on an adventure bike, you could press on along Forest Road 376 toward Fenton Lake. But for most, this is the turnaround point. The ride back down an M485 is just as exciting. Downhill curves let you play with momentum, and the views seem fresh from this new angle. The Sandia Mountains peek into view in the distance as you descend, a perfect cap to the journey. This 8 to 10 mile round trip, depending on your starting point, isn't long, but it packs a punch. Tight turns, stunning geology, and the raw thrill of riding through tunnels carved into a mountain. It's a ride that leaves your heart racing and your soul full, a quintessential New Mexico adventure. The Gilman Tunnels have a fascinating history tied to the region's logging industry and the ingenuity of early 20th century engineering. The tunnels were originally constructed in the 1920s as part of the Santa Fe Northwestern Railway, SF&W, a narrow-gauge railroad built to transport timber from the dense forests of the western Jemez Mountains to a sawmill in Bernalillo. The rugged terrain of the Guadalupe Box, a narrow, steep-walled canyon carved by the Rio Guadalupe, posed a significant challenge to loggers. To overcome this, two tall, narrow tunnels were blasted through 1.6 billion-year-old Precambrian granite in 1923, allowing trains to pass through this otherwise impassable section of the canyon. The tunnels were named after William H. Gilman, a key figure in the SFNW, who served as vice president of railroad operations until his death in 1931. The construction of the tunnels was no small feat using the limited technology of the time, primarily dynamite and manual labor. Workers carved through the ancient granitic gneiss, a process that cost around $500,000 for just a 3/8-mile stretch, more than half the total expense of the railroad itself. From the 1920s through the early 1930s, the railway successfully hauled logs from camps like Porter, located deeper in the mountains, down to processing sites. However, the lumber market slumped in 1928 due to a decline in residential construction following the onset of the Great Depression, leading to a temporary shutdown of operations. The SFNW was revived in the 1930s by new investors, and the tunnels were widened during this period to accommodate logging trucks as the industry shifted away from rail transport. But the railroad's days were numbered. In May 1941, a massive flood along the Jemez and Guadalupe rivers washed out 3 miles of track and damaged bridges, with repair costs estimated at $90,000. The railroad was abandoned, and the focus shifted entirely to truck-based logging. The old rail bed was converted into a road, now known as NM-485, and the tunnels became part of this new route. We arrive in Los Alamos. The Los Alamos main gate building is not the original structure from the Manhattan Project era, but a carefully crafted replica located at Los Alamos Project Main Gate Park. The original gatehouse, which served as a primary security checkpoint for entering the secret city during World War II, was dismantled in 1957 when Los Alamos transitioned from a closed military site to an open community. The Oppenheimer House is located on Bathtub Row, a street named for its distinction as the only area in wartime Los Alamos with bathtubs, a luxury at the time. The address is 1967 Peach Street, though access is restricted as it lies within a secure federal zone managed by LA&L. Built in 1929 as part of the Los Alamos Ranch School, the house predates the Manhattan Project. When the government took over the site in 1942, it was assigned to Oppenheimer due to his role as scientific director, offering him and his family, wife Kitty and their children, Peter and Tony, a modest but relatively comfortable residence compared to the Spartan quarters of most workers. We really hope you enjoyed the ride. Please press the like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel. We'll see you on the next ride.